So thanks, Sean. I just want to thank you for being on the podcast and giving us your time. I know you're like a super busy guy, and everyone's always, trying to meet up with you. But yeah, how you doing tonight?
Doing fantastic. How about yourself?
Doing awesome.
Yeah, man. Thanks for doing this.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. For those people who are not familiar with who you are, if you could kind of just give us like a background, who you are and what you do, and what you're doing right now. We'll get into like more of your background a little bit later on, but.
Absolutely. So my name is John Singh. I'm from Fresno, California. I'm a full-time network marketer, full-time entrepreneur. Been doing it for 18 years now.
So what? How did you get into that? Like, how'd that come about?
My mom told me about it. I started working when I was 12 years old, and I was working full-time when I was 12 years old. My father passed away back then, and my mom worked 100 hours a week. I was working 40 hours a week. And by the time I was 19 years old, I was just sick and tired of being sick and tired of working for somebody else. So I began looking at other ways of making money. And my mom knew that I wanted to be like her, where I made good money, but I also wanted time freedom as well. And she came across somebody that had time and money together, and she introduced me to him. And that's how it all started. I went to a little presentation March 27th, year 2000, and that's the day that changed my life. I made the decision to become a full-time entrepreneur.
Wow. Was your mom in the business too, or was it?
We joined the same day, March 27th, year 2000.
What company was that, if you don't mind talking about
a company called ACN.
Oh, shit. They were around that back then?
Yeah, since 1993.
Yeah, like 25 years, right?
Uh-huh.
Because I've heard about them. We get invited to a lot of different things, and that's one of the ones that we usually, get invited to.
Nice.
Did you end up sticking around for a while, or was it one of those things that you went from one to another, to another, to another?
It's the only company I did all the way up until a little over 2 years ago.
Oh, wow. And because I know you know Matt, you guys know each other quite a bit, but I don't know much about your story. I know I've seen I've seen one of your presentations, but kind of walked in a little bit late, so I didn't get much of your background. Because I know you've done some real estate as well, right? So,
absolutely.
So I kind of want to go into like that transition, like because you've always been an entrepreneur, business owner, and then you were doing network marketing. Like, what have you done, from when you started up until now, in real estate and the businesses that you've owned, I guess, along the way?
That's a loaded question. A lot of different businesses. So, got my start in network marketing, and from network marketing, I transitioned into a restaurant and a nightclub. After the restaurant and nightclub,
what kind of nightclub was it?
Just
like regular
dance,
like a
hip
top
hop,
40 type.
Yeah,
place?
we had two different rooms. We had upstairs, we had a DJ up there. Then downstairs, we had a DJ down there, and we had two different types of music. But upstairs was 21 and over, downstairs was 18 and over, and we had Mexican food. It's awesome.
And then you said, what was it?
After that, I got into real estate in 2004. One of my best friends named Nima Najat, he's on this TV show. You may have heard of it before. It's called The Shaws of Sunset. It's one of my best friends. We've been roommates in 7 different cities. His cousin, Puya, had a real estate company in San Diego, and he was having massive success in real estate. I remember going to their office. It was like 25,000 square feet in Carlsbad, California, overlooking the ocean. And they were, riding around on the little razors, around the office, and they're the same age, a year or two difference than myself, and they were making multiple 7 figures a year. They had 100 plus loan officers and in their building, plus telemarketers, and they're just running an amazing operation. And I was like, wow, I'm like traveling all over the country, working super hard, and these guys are making multiple 7 figures a year. Sure. Sitting in an air-conditioned office in San Diego in Paradise overlooking the ocean. So that's what caught my interest in real estate, and I started doing real estate then, started working with them.
What kind of real estate did you start doing?
Mortgages. Started doing mortgages with them. I remember when I first met them, I said, you know what? I love what you guys are doing. I would love to have a branch of your company one day. I will come into your company and become your #1 producer within a year. You don't need to even pay me. You can hold on to all my commissions. We'll take those commissions and we'll open up the first branch of your guys' company in my hometown in Fresno, California. So I could bring this back to my hometown and give my family and friends the same opportunity with real estate in my hometown.
And then that all came to fruition, like that
It took about 8 months. I was the number one producer within about 8 months. I didn't take one lead from them or from any of their telemarketers. I just took everything that I learned from this industry, network marketing, applied that to real estate, and I just got 100% referrals and became the number one producer in their company. And
pretty
8 months
bold
later,
claim to make.
Yeah, pretty confident.
in network marketing, you learn a lot. And if you apply it to every business you do or every other aspect of your life, you can have success at anything.
So, 'cause I know a lot of people get into network marketing, and there's a lot of different programs out there, and they kind of, there are really successful people in there, but some people kind of come in, try it a little bit, give up, bounce out, and quit or jump to another one. Or what are some of the things that you found to be successful until at that a lot of other people aren't getting? Like what's
Because I'll be honest, I've tried it. I've done a few companies here and there. And so, I'm sure, I think Matt has as well, but it's just never turned into anything.
Right.
So I'm always curious to talk to people who have been successful at it and, to talk about them, what is it that makes the biggest difference?
Well, how you do one thing is how you do everything. So if you're going to get in shape, a lot of people at the beginning of the year, their New Year's resolutions is what? Lose weight, make more money. Gym memberships go through the roof. Gym owners love that time of year. After about February, there's probably about 10% of the people that are still working out that started out January 1st. January 1st, the gyms are packed. Their memberships are through the roof. They make the majority of their revenues around that time, around New Year's Eve, New Year's Day.
Right.
And how you do one thing is how you do everything. Most people say they want it, but they don't continue to show up. Step number one, you got to show up to the gym, right? You got to be consistent and show up to the gym. Number two, you got to lift the weights. They're not going to lift themselves. And number three, you got to diet as well. They say it's 80% what you eat and 20% how you work out, right?
Yeah.
And last but not least, you should hire a coach. You find a trainer at the gym that looks the way that you want to look, and you hire them, and they've already learned how to do it. So rather than trying to reinvent the wheel and trying to figure out how to get in shape yourself, why not just hire somebody who already looks the way that you want to look and have them mentor, coach you, and train you and hold you accountable. So that way you don't just go cheat. You have somebody that you have to report back to, that you're staying accountable to. And when you have a financial obligation, usually people stay more committed because they're paying them to coach them and stay on top of them as well. So it's the same thing in business. I know I just gave you an analogy, but in network marketing, you can have success if you commit to it. You got to treat it like getting in shape. You got to treat it like a marriage, right? If you get married, and I just recently got married in November last year, and
Congrats, man.
Thank you, appreciate that. And imagine if I stepped up to the altar and we're doing our wedding vows, and he asked me if I'm going to be there through thickness and through thin till death do us part, through richer or poorer, and I told my wife, well, I'll try, right? How do you think that would have worked out, right? It probably wouldn't have went too well. No. No marriage would work out if somebody didn't commit, right? So it's the same thing in business. The only way you'll have success in network marketing is if you commit to it, just like a marriage, just like getting in shape. Work on yourself, personal growth. I don't know if you guys read books at all, or if you know who John Maxwell is. He's one of my favorite authors. He always talks about the law of the lid. You can only lead people to where you're at in life, right? So if you make $50,000 a year, you could teach somebody how to make $50,000 a year because you've made $50,000 a year. You can't talk about teaching somebody how to make $100,000 a year if you're not there because you've never done it yourself yet. That's called being a hypocrite, telling somebody to do something that you haven't done yourself yet.
It's like I always see 18-year-old life coaches,
right?
And it's like, dude, you're 18.
Exactly.
You haven't gone through shit yet. Why are you teaching people how to live their life when you haven't gone through anything? It's all theory.
It's all theory. So John Maxwell always talks about the law of the lid. You can only lead people to where you're at in life. So in network marketing, if you want to have success in network marketing, you got to find a coach that is successful in the company that you want to have success in and learn from them. They can take you to where they're at, right? They have an idea of how to get past there, but they could take you to where they're at. So the reason why a lot of people don't have success in network marketing is A, they're not willing to commit. B, they're not willing to get a coach, mentor, and trainer. C, they're probably not willing to be coachable to their coach, mentor, and trainer because maybe they do have a mentor, but they're not holding themselves accountable, right? And then lastly is when people join network marketing, they want to join month 1 and make their initial investment back. Month 2, they want to be profitable. Month 3, they want to be rich, right?
Yeah.
It's like hitting the lottery. But the reality of it is, if you start any traditional business, normally you think, okay, I put my money in and it'll probably take me a year or 2 to even get my initial investment back. If you even do that, at least, right? And maybe 3 to 5 years before you even start making a profit. That's the mindset going into a business like that. And there's a huge upfront commitment of capital that you have to invest to start a business. But see, people go into network marketing because it's so inexpensive to get involved with. People treat it like a hobby, right? They're like, oh, it's only $500, it's only $600, it's only $1,000. So they don't place that much importance on it. But if they were to write a check for a franchise, like say they bought a Subway franchise and say it was $250,000, they'll be committed.
You better believe they're making me. That's $250,000.
Exactly. And it might be their life savings and they put it all on the line. So guess what? They're going to be there opening it up, shutting down. They're going to be making sandwiches. They're going to be making sure that that business is running effectively because they put a huge capital commitment. So one of the biggest reasons why people don't have success in network marketing is they don't act as if they wrote a check for $250,000.
Right.
So they don't take it seriously. And it's just not worth the pain of somebody telling them no, or the pain of changing and becoming the person that they need to become in order to attract the person that they want to attract. That's the only reason why. It's just people maybe haven't had the good mentorship, or they haven't read the proper books and invested enough in themselves to have success.
Now, to go back to the gym analogy that you were giving, what are some of the reps or some of the things that you should be doing if you want to be a successful network marketer?
What are some of the things that you need to do?
Like one of the habits that you should have, some of the habits you should have, calling, networking, putting yourself out there, sort of things.
I would say number one thing is personal growth. Work on yourself. Like I was sharing with you about John Maxwell, the law of the lid. You're going to attract who you are, right? So you got to be a good person if you want to have success in network marketing, and if you want retention and you want people to stick around long term, you got to have integrity with your word. If you say you're going to do something, you got to do it. If you say you're going to show up at a certain time, you got to show up at a certain time. If you say you're going to call somebody back at a certain time, call them back at that time. You got to be willing to work on yourself. And you got to take a good look in the mirror, because the only person that holds anybody back from having success is the person that stares at you in the mirror. That's it. And you really have to just work on yourself. And one of the main reasons why you need that personal growth is really just to control your thoughts. Because I think the thing that holds people back the most is their own thoughts. People don't realize how important self-talk is. And you learn that through personal growth. So your thoughts control your emotions and your feelings. And if your emotions and feelings aren't right, then you're not going to take action. So if you can control your thoughts, you can control your feelings and emotions, which in turn will control your actions, because you have to take action to have success. You got to go do something.
Right.
Make sense?
Right. Nobody wakes up saying, "Oh, I'm going to be bad today. I'm not going to do anything today." It's like it's all about making those little decisions throughout the day that accumulate to you doing what you actually want to do. Right.
Absolutely.
So I know you had a question.
So when you joined ACN, who was your coach? What did they? Because you say you need like a mentor, right? So when you started, what did someone take you under their wing, and what did they teach you to kind of become successful instead of you just kind of? So I think that's the thing too. With some programs, depending who it is that introduce you to the business, if you don't have the right person or the right coach or mentor, a lot of people give up that way too.
Right.
I think.
So my first mentor was a gentleman that presented to me. My mom introduced me to him. His name is Paul Henderson from Fresno, California. He literally just passed away about a year and a half ago. Very, very successful entrepreneur. He was in car sales prior to that. And he was my first mentor. I mean, he was at a position in the company at the time, was the second highest position in the company. And he was making really good money. He was making a 6-figure income on an annual basis. And he just told me, hey, if you're coachable and trainable and you do what I teach you to do and you introduce me to people, you'll have success. And I just trusted him. And it was such a small investment to start up. I started up in 2.5 months of doing that part-time spare time. I surpassed my full-time income. I was selling hot dogs at Costco, and I walked away from corporate America and haven't turned back since. It's been 18 years now since I've had a W-2 paycheck.
Wow.
That's crazy.
It's awesome.
Now you've done flips as well, right? And you do some rentals and too.
Mm-hmm.
How did you get into that? Was it before the the crash, or has it been, lately?
Well, because you started as a loan officer, right?
Right. So
And then made the transition to investment.
Right. So we started in mortgages back in 2004. And once I started my own branch, it took about another 6 months or so with my own branch. We were doing big business. The two individuals that owned the company asked me to be their equal partner. So we ended up becoming equal partners, and we ended up opening up more locations. We opened up 7 locations. We had over 100 loan officers, over 100 realtors working with us. We started our own public escrow company. We started doing our own in-house processing. And that in turn, a lot of people were finding out about us because we were doing a lot of business. So people were coming in to us asking for some unconventional type lending. And so we started doing some of that commercial lending. And as people would not pay us back, we ended up with some projects and some properties that we really didn't want. And I remember one of the first projects and properties we ended up with was called the Hotel Fresno in my hometown. It was the only 5-star hotel ever in my hometown's history. We ended up with that property, not because we wanted it, just because they didn't pay us back. And I remember getting bids on getting some of the work done. For example, we had to do some asbestos abatement. I remember I was going to get a bunch of bids, and come to find out there's only one company in my hometown that does asbestos abatement, so there's only one option. And I remember getting that bid, and it was over $250,000 for them to do some asbestos abatement of the roof. I'm like, that is insane. I'm like, well, what does it take to get somebody asbestos abatement certified? So I ended up contacting a friend of mine who was in construction, was a superintendent on a massive project. He was working on a $22 million development at Fresno State in my hometown, and I got him from there, and I said, listen, I'll pay you more money, come work with me. He put together a team of guys, and we got them all asbestos abatement certified. Altogether, it was probably $14,000, and altogether to do all the work, it probably cost about $30,000. So he saved, over $200,000.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So that's how we ended up getting into construction, is out of necessity, and that's how we got into real estate development out of necessity. So we started acquiring some more commercial projects and whatnot, and I mean that's how I got my start. That was all in 2005 is when we first acquired that property. But that's how I got into it. I just kind of fell into it.
I think that's a huge lesson there, like a big takeaway. That if you get like an answer or something that you don't like, don't just like go with it or accept it. Like
right.
There's always a better way to do it. There's more than one way to skin a cat. Mm-hmm. You can go out there and create your own options and create your own future in that way.
Right.
So that's pretty cool, I think.
Yeah.
And what happened when the whole market crash? Because you guys were willing and dealing, and when the whole market crashed, like how did that go?
I had an amazing mentor in real estate, and he kind of gave me a heads up on how history repeats itself, and he saw some things coming and happening, and I took his advice, and I liquidated my assets. We sold the hotel, we sold some other properties, and I literally took a break. I went to Belize, Central America. I took a couple-year break out of Belize, Central America. I figured, when am I going to be in this position again in life where I'm not married, I don't have kids, I've always wanted to travel the world. We did really well, had a good run in real estate, so I just took a break and just traveled. Went to China, went to Germany, went to Czech Republic, I went to the Bahamas, Canada, all over Mexico, Guatemala, lived in Belize for 2 years, Belize, Central America, down in Honduras, Costa Rica, you name it, I went there. We would just, Taiwan, I just went all over the place, England, Italy.
Just hanging out.
Oh yeah, just hanging out, living life, sightseeing, meeting locals, eating good food.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it was amazing.
And how
amazing
did you,
experience.
when you came back, like how did you get back into things and
Well, the end of 2008, I remember Christmas Eve. It was my mom's birthday, and my father passed away when I was 12, so I only have her. So every year I spend Christmas Eve with her, which is her birthday. And I remember Christmas Eve flying back from Belize, Central America, to be in Southern California with my mom. And I remember as I was coming back, I thought to myself, you know what? This is no fun taking a 2-year break. My family and friends aren't with me. If they ever came out to visit, it would be for a short period of time, 3-4 days, maybe a week tops, including my mom. And I thought to myself, if my family and friends aren't winning, I don't really feel like I'm winning. I got to do a lot of cool stuff, meet a lot of cool people, and have a lot of great experiences. But I thought to myself, I don't feel like I'm doing my family members and friends justice by by just taking a long vacation. And I worked on myself a lot, read a lot more books, listened to a lot more audios, and focused on my health, which was really awesome. But I remember coming back in for Christmas Eve to spend with my family, thinking to myself, I need to figure something out to help these guys win. So that's how I got back into it.
And then what did you do then after that? Like, what did you?
I did a lot of different things. So I remember when I first came back, we started a wireless company, reselling like Verizon wireless cell phone service. Like we had a white labeled cell phone service. So we opened up a bunch of cell phone stores selling that service. I remember after that.
I did that for a while in high school. I was one of the salespeople for,
Awesome.
like a, what do they call
The mall.
just a retailer.
Right.
Like we sold a T-Mobile and Sprint and Nextel.
Awesome.
That's when those chirp phones were like super popular.
I remember that. Yeah, Nextel. Yep. Yeah, so I was doing the same thing, but we white labeled our own. So we were our own Verizon. We were our own Sprint. You know, we white labeled our own service. And I remember wanting to expand and grow, and we work. So I always have a growth mindset, you know, of duplication and spreading out. And I remember my partners sitting down with me, having a conversation, saying, listen, we just need to go recruit a bunch of people so we can get the money from that to continue to expand our company. And I said, no, I'm not going to go sign a bunch of people up to help pay for our expansion. We just need to invest more money. And they said, no. They said, what difference does it make? A lot of the people are going to quit anyways. And after that conversation, I was done with the business. I walked away from the partnership. I walked away from my shares. I said, I don't want to have anything to do with them anymore, because that's not my mindset. You know. So after that, I started buying and selling cars. Just finding cars on Craigslist, fixing them up, turning around and selling them. And I started, my mom introduced me to another guy that was selling TVs out of this little mom and pop alleyway, what's that called? Storage unit.
Yeah.
And he would open up, and an hour later, all of them would be gone. And he was buying them from Best Buy, Costco,
Like actually
Target.
buying them?
Buying them, the store returns. The store returns. So all the
gotcha.
store returns, they don't resell them. Even Best Buy, they do some of them, but not all of them.
I've been to a couple of those back alley, stores.
Right.
But-
So he would fix them. He would fix them, and there would be great TVs at half the price. And I was like, this guy's onto something. And I bought a couple and sold a couple. Just started flipping some of those TVs, and then I ended up partnering up with a guy, and we opened up 12 stores. Opened up stores out in Salt Lake City, Utah, Phoenix, Arizona, Las Vegas, Nevada, Sacramento, San Diego, my hometown, multiple ones across my hometown. Then we turned that into a legitimate business and got a business license and hired employees and set up workman's compensation, bank accounts, did all the things you're supposed to do to start a business, set up corporations. So we legitimized the business, and we got to the point where we were selling 1,000 TVs a month. And we made on average of about $100 profit per TV. So we were up to 6 figures a month. We were doing really, really well. And I remember it came a year later, after this huge expansion mode of what we were doing. The guy that I partnered up with, our best time of year was always Super Bowl. Super Bowl season, people spend big money on televisions. They always want to upgrade their TV and have big
like
Super
Christmas
Bowl parties.
or something.
You think it would, but it's actually not. Super Bowl is where we would sell the most TVs. So you learn all this just being in business. And I remember right after that, that was the agreement from the capital infusion that me and a couple friends of mine had put into the company. We made the agreement that we were going to get back our money and then do the first distribution of profits. We went there the day afterwards, to go and divvy up some money and get our initial investment back, and literally worked for free, right, for a year long building this up, legitimizing the business, and our partner had taken out all the money.
Holy shit.
Right?
I knew this was going somewhere. I'm like, fuck.
He took out all the money. And it was crazy because shortly after that, he got robbed and he got shot.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. So,
Karma. Yeah.
well, apparently I wasn't the only person that he did that to. So it was on the news, and I remember getting a phone call from my neighbor saying, "Hey, are you okay?" I was like, "What do you mean?" He goes, "I thought you just got shot," because they said the owner of the TV shop got shot. And I was like, "No, I'm here. I'm at home. I'm next door. Like, I'm fine."
Yeah.
I turned on the news and I saw it, and I'm like, "Whoa, I guess so." My partner did get shot. He was fine. He just got a bullet wound through the leg or whatever, so he was totally fine. And those guys got away. But yeah, there's no amount of money to me that can replace integrity. You know, once somebody shows their true colors like that, I can't do business with them. So, you know, I cut that guy out of my life. Ever again. And could I have sued him? Yes. Could I have won? Of course we would have won. We had all the documentation, everything in place. But the whole stress of going through a lawsuit and money going through a lawsuit, the only people that ever win in those instances are the attorneys. The lawsuit that I went through with the Hotel Fresno cost me $120,000 on legal fees. The only people who won are the attorneys. And it just makes me sick to my stomach to throw away money like that when I could have put it in the property. And it cost me almost multiple six figures to find out this guy's true colors, but I'm glad I found out with multiple six figures rather than multiple seven figures. That was another business that I did. And after that, I focused on ACN again. I actually partnered back up with my old business partner and started doing that because I was like, you know what, I've been doing this traditional business thing, and it's just hard to trust people. So I was like, in network marketing, super low overhead, super low startup capital. The company takes care of everything. You don't have to deal with any workman's compensation. You don't have to deal with payroll. All you simply do is make money. And the harder you work, the luckier you get, the more effort you put in, the more money you make. There's paid vacations. There's all kinds of incentives. So I started working ACN full-time again at that point. I think it was about 2011.
I kind of want to go back to something else.
Sure.
Before we go on to
Go
ACN and we get onto like the more current stuff. It seems like there's like a little bit of a pattern like with you. You're like, you were talking about, you're always thinking about expansion. Like you always want to see like the big picture. Mm-hmm. How do you make that decision, or how does that process go where you're like, this is something that I can't take onto like multiple locations, multiple states. We can really create like a big organization. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm just trying to figure out like the thought process behind like how you do that, or like where that comes from.
Absolutely. I'll make it really simple. I'll give you an analogy. If you're fishing and you have a fishing pole, fishing rod cast out there in the lake or the ocean, how many fish can you catch?
Just one.
One. Now, if you were to take a fishing net, the size of this house that we're in right now, what is this house, like 4,000 square feet or something like that?
Something like that.
What if you were to take a 4,000 square foot net and cast it out in the ocean? How many more fish do you think you can catch?
Depends on the size of the fish, but yeah, a lot.
Right? Probably a lot more than one.
Right.
So my point is, the bigger your net, the better it works. That's why they call it network marketing. The more people that you can get in front of, the more business you're going to have. I'll give you another analogy. McDonald's, right? Do they have the best hamburgers on the planet?
No.
Probably not. But why is it that they sell more hamburgers than any other restaurant on the planet?
Man.
They're everywhere.
Dude, you're in and out, and like, not only that, but you're in and out in like 2 minutes. But
That's true.
There's a lot of
fast.
them. Yeah, there's a lot of them.
It's distribution. I mean, there's 35,000 of them. Okay, there's 35,000 McDonald's around the world, so they can reach more people. They've cast a bigger net. They cast a bigger net so they can sell more product. That's why when they got into coffee, even though Starbucks had thousands and thousands of locations, day one they started selling more coffee than Starbucks because there's 35,000 of them.
I'm not gonna lie. When that happened, I think it was free for the first like couple months, or at least a month or two.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What?
And the
Mac Cafe?
No, and the coffee came out at McDonald's, because I remember. So I kept going there, and then after like that habit got produced, and like when they started charging $1, like I just kept going there because I was like, oh, it's just going. You get it. You don't gotta park. You don't gotta get out. You don't gotta pay $3. You pay $1, and then like. Yeah, so I should get McDonald's coffee a lot, and like it worked.
You also don't have to say grande for medium. Or,
You don't got to figure out what it
Remember,
is.
learn a new language.
Yeah.
That's so true. But that's all it is, man. I mean, my mindset through network marketing got expanded through the personal growth and mentorship that I've had. And every time I see something, I don't see like, oh, how can I serve one person? I see, how can I serve the masses? One of my mentors taught me when I was younger. He taught me to, in order to dine with the classes, you have to cater to the masses. So every time I've looked at any business project, I always looked at, okay, let's do proof of concept first. Let's make sure it works, and then let's expand it from there, and let's duplicate it out.
Because if it works here, it's going to work. Like the TVs, right? If the TVs were selling hotcakes in that little area, they're going to sell like a lot in, multiple markets.
Exactly. And they just came out with a movie from John Paul Getty, J. Paul Getty. Have you guys ever heard of him?
Just saw it. It was, what's the name of it? Getty, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think it was Getty. So
Yeah, I just saw it. Yeah.
yeah, so he has a huge art museum out in Southern California, billions of dollars of art. But this guy was the first documented billionaire in America. And at the time, he was the wealthiest man on the planet. And he said, I'd rather get 1% of 100 man's efforts rather than 100% of my own, provided that you have 100 people out there working. I mean, if there's 100 people working, right, every day, say an 8-hour day, can those 100 people do more work physically than you can possibly do in an 8-hour day of work, right? So that's the mindset. I mean, I always think in terms of multiplication, duplication, duplicating my efforts, duplicating and reaching more people and whatever it is that I'm doing. So that's where the mindset came from.
Okay, it's all about leverage.
Leverage, yeah.
Now let's talk about ACN, I guess. Let's go back to the chronological order here.
So you said you got back into it 2011, and then you started doing it full time again because you realized it's a better business model than the other business models you're doing.
Absolutely.
You were talking about trust and not being able. I've been a part of some network marketing companies. That's the thing is everyone is on the same team, going the same way. So there's a lot more trust in network marketing than other businesses, right?
Absolutely. And I didn't go back to ACN. I went back and partnered up with somebody who I trust. Okay. So
He just happened to be still in
He still happened to still be it. It was somebody that I mentored, coached, and trained. And at the time, he had already made about $13 million in that company.
Damn.
So I went and partnered up with him again because I mentored, coached him, and trained him. He literally, when I met him, he had a bicycle. He was a broke college student playing baseball at the University of Utah. I mean, you can reach out both your hands and touch the walls in the little closet that he was renting out in the basement of somebody's house. He was broke, and I helped him become a millionaire in this industry. I coached him, mentored him, trained him. He moved in with me for a year. So I partnered back up with him. I've never been loyal to a company. I'm only loyal to my family members and friends. So when I say I went back to ACN, it wasn't me going back to that company. It was me partnering up with one of my best friends at the time.
Gotcha.
And then how long did you do that for before you found the next opportunity or the next business?
It was all the way up until February 2 years ago. I had gotten a phone call from a friend of mine, and he asked me a simple question that was a really thought-provoking question, a question I've never been asked before. He says, John, when are you going to be done, man? When are you going to retire? When exactly are you going to retire? And how much money do you think you're going to have when you do retire? Do you have a crystal clear vision of what that is? Do you have something concrete and set up? And I thought about it, and I was like, I don't. I had just got engaged and thinking about, I was moving towards getting married and eventually starting a family. And I was like, I don't have anything in place. Because the last job I had, I was selling hot dogs at Costco making $8 an hour when I was 19. So when I get my annual Social Security statement, it shows I put about $7,000 in, and I'm going to get about $351 a month when I turn 65 years old. 30 years from now, that's probably not even going to pay a gas and a light bill, right? Mm-hmm. So I was thinking about, I was like, I just got that statement. I don't have anything set up. I was like, what are you proposing? And I flew out and met with these guys, and they showed me an amazing venture of education, health education, and financial education. And I've never had classes on financial education. I've never taken classes on health and nutrition. I thought it was an incredible idea, and I made the switch. First time I made a switch. It's barely the second company I've ever done in this space of network marketing.
What company is that called?
Tronot.
And what do they teach with the finance and the health?
So financial education, we pretty much teach the secrets of the rich, right? So there's a reason why the rich get richer. There's a reason why the wealthy have generations of wealth. Because, you can look at other people who are high income earners, such as NBA players, but why is it that 60% of them go bankrupt when their career is over? Or look at NFL players, 67% of them go bankrupt when their career is over. And they've made millions of dollars. How do you do that? How do you lose all that money? Mike Tyson. Yeah, we can go down the list of professional athletes, music artists, New York Times bestselling authors, actors, actresses. You name it. People hit the lottery. The majority of them lose everything that they have. But why is it that the wealthy, they continue to grow their net worth? Why is it that they have generations of wealth? It's simply because they're taught things that we're not taught. They are getting education that we're not getting. And if you think about it, when was the last time we all took classes on financial education? They don't teach it, right?
Not at
So
all.
so the financial side, They created this company simply to educate people on the 5 keys to money mastery. And the 5 keys to money mastery is what the wealthy understand that we don't. It's what they're taught that we're not, and it's what they implement at all times. Not 1 or 2 of the keys or 3 of the keys like the average everyday person. They implement all 5 keys simultaneously. And here's those keys to money mastery. Key number 1 is simply make money. Right? So a lot of us got that down. A lot of us have learned that, make money. Second one is manage your money. And that's one that a lot of people have a challenge with because we have technology today. People are less smart with their finances. Nobody balances a checkbook in today's day and age. It's kind of interesting.
What's a checkbook?
Exactly. I mean, most people swipe until there's nothing left, or they swipe until they max out a credit card. And that's the financial education of management of money here in America. Just people don't do it anymore. But that's a big key to success of mastering your money. I never mastered my money. I just mastered how to spend it. I never really mastered all the keys to money mastery. Third one is save your money, which a lot of people understand it. Most people don't do it. And the ones that do it, they usually, when they get to a certain dollar amount, then they go buy a new car. When they get to a certain dollar amount, they pay for a family vacation. So that's the third key to money mastery is continue to save your money. Fourth one is protect it. Right? Warren Buffett, the wealthiest investor on the planet today, has 2 rules to investing. What are they? Rule number 1, never lose money. Rule number 2, always follow rule number 1. So if the wealthiest investor in the world is telling you to never lose money, that's probably a pretty important key. That's how he got to where he's at today, right? He never loses money. So that's the 4th key to money mastery. And then the 5th and final key is grow your money. But you got to remember, when you're growing your money, a lot of people will just say, okay, put your money here, put your money in this 401k. Well, what happened in 2007 and 2008? People's 401ks became 101ks, right? They became non-existent. They got wiped out. So just because you were sat down with a financial advisor, and by the way, the average financial advisor in America makes $35,000 to $45,000 a year, but they're giving you advice on your finances. It's kind of interesting.
Well, it's just like a salesperson. Because I remember when I graduated college, what was it, Northwestern? They just send you come work for us. It's basically if you couldn't get a job, you went and worked for one of those companies to be a financial advisor. And I was like, how am I going to advise anybody on money when I just graduated? I don't have anything yet.
Exactly. So who do you get your advice from? Just because somebody tells you it's a good idea doesn't mean it's a good idea. If it doesn't fit into all 5 keys of money mastery, you should not do it. Now, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm not telling anybody what to do, but that's one of the cool things about what our company does is they educate us. So you can educate yourself on what to do. A lot of people say knowledge is power, but that's not true. Applied knowledge is power, but you got to get the right knowledge and then you got to learn how to apply it, right? So if you're going to grow your money, you got to make sure that it's protected. You're never going to lose money like Warren Buffett says. So part of what we do is we educate people on their finances, and we have certified, licensed and appointed wealth coaches that are licensed by the state of where you reside in, and they're the ones that actually coach you on your finances. On the health education portion of what we do, we teach basic health and nutrition. We live in one of the most sick and obese nations on the planet, and basic health and nutrition is not taught here. We're taught about the food pyramid, but how does that work out for everybody, right?
I don't even think it's right anymore. It's flips.
It's crazy, right? So obviously they weren't teaching the right stuff. So we teach basic health and nutrition, and then we provide the tools for people to be able to implement it so they can get their health back.
Nice.
So now that we're at current year, so what are your plans for the future with your current business and other business opportunities or ventures that you're looking to do?
Got a lot of plans, man. I mean, finish never is. Right?
What's on the horizon?
A lot. So I'm in huge expansion mode right now with this network marketing company. Big expansion mode right now with real estate. I'm transitioning from flips over to rentals. Now that I'm married, I just want more stable, passive income where I don't have to do anything. I want to stay more in the investor quadrant, like Robert Kiyosaki says, in cash flow quadrants. I'd rather have my money make me money. So rather than dealing with the headaches of flips, I'm transitioning out of that and going more so towards rental properties. Looking at opening up a chain of restaurants out in Las Vegas, Nevada right now, in the process of doing that. And that's it.
Just a lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff. I'm an entrepreneur.
A lot of different ventures.
Serial entrepreneur.
Good. Franchise restaurants or like specific brand?
Well, we're gonna do
Singh restaurants.
we're gonna do proof of concept first, and we're starting in Las Vegas, Nevada. We'll probably open up about 5 restaurants just in the city of Las Vegas, Nevada, and then we'll take it from there. Once
kind
we
of
get to that
restaurants?
point, it's gonna be think of the Cheesecake Factory of Mexican food. That's the best analogy I can give you.
Nice.
Interesting. I don't know.
I'll try it.
Every time I go to a Cheesecake Factory, I'm always confused. It's just the menu is just so big. I don't know what to pick.
Yeah, they got too much stuff. That's what we're just doing one segment.
Yeah.
Mexican food.
Now, you say you read a lot, right?
Absolutely.
I'm not gonna ask you like what your favorite book is because I'm sure you probably have like many favorite books. But what's one that you gift the most?
I'll give you my top 5.
Okay.
Favorite book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I have to say that's my number 1. I would say number 2 would be Excuse Me, Your Life is Waiting by Lynn Grabhorn. That's probably my second all-time favorite. I would say third would probably be Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Fourth would probably be Cash Flow Quadrant. And I would say fifth would be The Retirement Miracle.
What's the retirement miracle?
The Retirement Miracle talks about the secrets of the rich. The Retirement Miracle talks about how a lot of wealthy people use cash value life insurance for smart banking purposes. For example, Walt Disney, he went to bank after bank after bank after bank to get financing to build Disneyland. When they all turned him down, he turned to his cash value life insurance policy that he had in place. He got a loan from his life insurance policy, and he was able to build Disneyland. That's how he was able to build it. And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, in that book, it'll tell you a lot about some of the wealthy people that have done some amazing things in life, and they did it from that process. So it just really opens your mind on, it's one of the secrets of the rich, and that book puts it in a very simple format. I'm a very simple guy. I don't like complex, complicated things. I like simple reads, and I even prefer audiobooks even more so than reading. So.
Yeah, I'm a huge fan of Audible. We actually had Audible sponsor the podcast.
Very cool.
Just because I'm, just super into it. I mean, you can put it like 1.5 times, 1.25 times.
Right.
If that slow voice that they usually read it with puts you to sleep.
Right.
But yeah, I'm a huge fan of that. Now, we're at the 45-minute mark now, so we're going to the questions section of the podcast.
Sure.
But
I
left the questions in my backpack,
actually,
which is at home.
I probably have them memorized by now because
Yeah,
so many times.
we've done it so many times. Matt
Sure, I
probably
was just
has
thinking
memorized.
about them. Like I know like half of these.
Okay.
But, really quick, I want to ask you one last question before I go into that. If you have more knowledge about that, about the like life insurance and who you were just talking about cash value, because me and Ricardo actually first found out about that 3 years ago. We met this one guy who's actually intranet now, but I thought it was like a really awesome like investment vehicle.
Right.
If you can touch on it a little bit more, because like that was probably my introduction into like, things that the wealthy teach, like the 1%.
High level shit.
Like literally, this guy introduced us to somebody else at the Metropolitan Club in the Sears Tower at the time, or Willis, whatever they're
I
calling
don't
it
think
now.
we didn't understand it at the time. We just weren't ready yet.
Yeah,
It was
when-
just flew right over my head.
We understood it, but we had like really like no money to contribute at the time because we had all this money in our flips and real estate and stuff. But like, he literally told us like this guy works for this insurance company. You've never heard of it because they don't cater to the masses. He only this guy only works with like the 1%, and like what we got taught, it kind of just like blew our mind at the time. But yeah, if you can go a little bit more about that, because I feel like that's like a really cool vehicle that a lot of people don't know about or don't even understand. So I actually told my mom about it like afterwards, kind of explaining the differences of like term life and whole life. And
Right.
She was like, "No, never buy whole life, just save a term." I'm like, "No, you don't understand. Like I just learned this from somebody like very up there, like important. That's like."
Absolutely. So I can't really go into specifics because I'm not a licensed life insurance agent.
That's why we won't hold you to it.
No, it's okay. What I mean,
just tell me
the
the
best
concept.
thing I can say is read the book, The Retirement Miracle, and I can share with you the plan that I got in place. I have no problem disclosing what plan I acquired for myself. So what I ended up getting for what I wanted to design for myself in the future was I got a $1.5 million life insurance policy. So it has a $1.5 million death benefit. So if I was to die today, my wife and my mom, they get paid. They're going to be set for life. I mean, they're really going to be taken care of. And say I was to get terminally ill or sick today, it has a component to the policy that I acquired where I can access those funds early up to $1 million. So if I was ever to get cancer or terminally ill or sick or anything, I can actually have living benefits, not only a death benefit, because there's a big misconception that life insurance policy is only on your life when you die and that's it. But there's other vehicles in that world where there's actually living benefits as well. So you can actually enjoy the policy or your money while you're actually living. So I have that component in my policy, and I have a component in my policy where I can overfund it. So the cost of insurance is a set amount, right? Which is a small dollar amount, which is a portion of it, and I can overfund that policy up to a certain dollar amount. So my policy, for example, I can put up to $34,000 a year. And if I was to continue to put in $34,000 a year, actually it's more than that. I think it's $43,000 a year. It comes out to like $3,400 a month, I believe. As long as I don't put in more than that, it'll never mech out the policy. Meching out the policy simply means that it now becomes taxable because I'm using that as an investment vehicle. But if you only put in you stay under the maximum portion in, you can have that overfund of your policy, that extra money in that policy, make you money. It can actually earn interest. And the product that I purchased is gold, S&P 500, and real estate. And you can designate what percentage of that you want to go into gold, the S&P 500, and real estate. And there's components to the policy where you can never lose money because it has a floor. The one that I have, I believe, is either 1/4 or 0.5%. So even if the market was to crash today, I'm still going to make 1/4 or 0.5% on the cash value that I have in my policy. And then I believe it caps out at a certain percentage, like 12%, 15% or something like that. So even if real estate performed better than that, I'm only going to get up to the 12 or 15% or whatever it is. Makes sense? And over time, that money continues to compound, right? So the eighth wonder of the world, Albert, right? Yeah. The eighth wonder of the world is what? Compound interest. Those that understand it make it. Those that don't, they pay it, right? Albert Einstein quoted that. One of the smartest people in the world. So compound interest, people just don't understand. And Tony Robbins talks about it a lot. He talks about this guy that used to work for the post office that only made $14,000 a year. And, one of his good friends to him that was in the insurance business came to him and said, hey, listen, you need to take 20% of your income and you need to invest in your future self. And he's like, yeah, right. He only make $14,000 a year. There's no way I could take 20% of my income and put it in a plan. He said, listen, man, if the government came to you and they slapped an additional 20% tax on you, you'd moan, you complain, you'd probably kick the dog, and then you'd pay it, right? Because it's a law. You have no choice. Well, he did that, and he put 20% away all the way till his retirement age, and he retired with $71 million. Wow. How do you go from making $14,000 a year to having a $71 million retirement, right? Crazy. So compound interest. Those who understand it make it. Those who don't pay it. So that money compounded and growing over time, over the course of his life, equated to a $71 million retirement. So Tony Robbins talks about it a lot in his books. The wealthy understand it. The wealthy understand this stuff. That's why I love doing what I'm doing right now, is because we're just educating the masses. We're teaching everybody how they can capitalize on this stuff, knowledge too.
I mean, not only do the wealthy understand it, they use it.
They use it on a regular basis.
The plan you have, is that grow tax free or deferred, or is that anything you can talk about?
So it's after tax dollars. So when I put money into my plan, it's after tax dollars, okay. Right? So.
And if somebody wants to do that, like, what are some of the companies that do that, or?
Oh, there's a lot of different companies that do that. I mean, our company does it. We have a company called Tronaut Life. I'm not a part of Tronaut Life. Again, you'd have to talk to somebody in that realm. Like my wife does life insurance. She's actually our top agent out of 34,000 associates. She's the number one. So she's amazing. She has a lot of experience in it. But the policy that I got is called an Index Universal Life, and it was with the Fidelity and Guarantee.
Okay. Got it. Yeah, that was my next question. Was the actual program called?
That's the one that I purchased.
Okay, so I'm moving on to the questions now.
Sure.
What were you doing when you were 25?
Network marketing and real estate. I was still doing both at that time.
Who do you admire, living or dead, besides a family member? Who do you most admire, besides family members, living or dead?
Ooh. That's a good question. There's a lot of people. Elon Musk is probably one of my living people. I mean, he's out there changing the world, man. Doesn't care what anybody
Have
thinks.
you read
Just
or
goes out
listened
and does
to his biography by what is it, Ashley
No, I haven't.
Vance? Dude,
No, I
it's
haven't.
so good.
Yeah, I got to check it out.
I listened to the audiobook. It's very good. It talks about all his 3 companies, even how he acquired Tesla.
Oh yeah,
And
eBay and
Solar City,
PayPal.
It talks, it's a biography, so it talks
amazing.
about everything. It's a fascinating book.
Yeah, I'm just inspired by what he does, man. I love Tesla. I love the solar program. I mean, just everything that he's doing, everything he stands for is incredible. I mean, even when he came out with the flamethrower, I was probably his very first customer. I mean, anything that guy does, I support it.
Yeah, I mean,
it's amazing.
I'm more fascinated by SpaceX. That's probably my favorite thing that he does.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What's one thing that you would, what's one piece of advice you would give someone first starting out in network marketing or business in general?
I would say never give up. Always put one foot in front of the other. Just if you're going to commit to it, commit to it. If you want to be an entrepreneur, make the decision, have integrity with your word, do what you say you're going to do and follow through. Nothing's easy in life. Nothing's easy in life. My little brother's an orthopedic surgeon. You know how much it cost him to do that? It cost him $500,000 to go to school. It took years and years of commitment. It took a lot of sacrifice from his personal life and family. But at the end of the day, it's worth it now. He's in sports medicine now. He just lived out his dream about a month and a half ago whenever they had the NBA All-Stars. He was actually the sports doctor on staff there in Los Angeles. So he's living out his dream now, but he has sacrificed so much from the time he was 18 all the way to the time he was about 30 years old.
It's a lot of school.
It's a lot of school and it's a lot of money. So anything worth having in life is going to take time. Anything worth doing in life is going to take time, and it's going to take a commitment. Just like marriage. I'm married now, and it's work, right? You got to commit to it, and you got to put effort and energy into it. Anything that you want to grow and expand, you got to put effort and energy in. So if you want to have success in network marketing, yes, it's tough, but I'll tell you right now, it's worth it. Nothing beats the freedom of residual income. Nothing beats it. Tonight, we just went and got some dessert tonight, right? And the yogurt place that we went to, the owner was there, and it's late night, right? And she was sharing with us about her child is autistic and has some health challenges, and her husband's in construction and he's always busy and working. And what I got from that whole conversation was she needs more time with her son. And her job owns her. That's why she's there running it, because she said nobody runs it like she does. And she said the majority of people that want to work at a place like this are kids, and they don't run the business like she runs the business. That's why she's there running the business. So she pretty much bought herself a job. So best advice I can give you is never give up. If you want to get into network marketing, nothing can provide a better lifestyle. You can get true freedom in there. You just got to find the right company, the right coach, mentor, and trainer, and you got to put in the work. Because the only time success comes before work is in the dictionary. So if you're going to commit to it, learn the craft. You learn how to ride a bike, you learn how to tie your shoes. If you can learn how to ride a bike and tie your shoes, you can learn how to have success in network marketing.
To what do you attribute your success? That's like, probably has a lot of answers.
I would say, I'll take it all the way back to when I was young. When I was 12 years old, my dad got robbed and killed. And he owned his own cab company. I was 12 years old at the time. And I remember that day like it was yesterday. I mean, my whole life changed in an instant. Somebody robbed him. They set out, premeditated to rob somebody, these 3 guys from Jamaica, to get initiated into a gang, and they shot him and killed him. So at that moment, I mean, what do you think he left behind? Right? Debt. And it was challenging for the family. My mom was working 100 hours a week. I was working 40 hours. I started working when I was 12 years old. And my mom was in the military. She was a bouncer at a nightclub, had her own business. And I would say me starting to work when I was that young and having something tragic in my life happen at that age, it really makes you stronger. I mean, I've never really met somebody who's just a really, really tough mental person that hasn't had a past. Had past challenges in their life. And I would say that's probably one of the biggest things that has contributed to me having success in life, is because I started out at such an early age, and I became the man of the house at such an early age. I learned to grow up a lot faster. I learned what work ethic was. I learned that if I wanted something in life, I needed to go to work for it to go get it. And by the time I was 19, I was just sick and tired of working for somebody else. And that's what made me decide to become an entrepreneur. And I saw my mom as an entrepreneur. make good money but have no time. So I wanted to go into a field where I can have time freedom as well, not just the financial freedom. But I would say it's probably that tragic event that happened when I was 12 years old that really made me want to have success, because I wanted to not see my mom work 100 hours a week anymore. I didn't want to see her breaking her back, doing every aspect of her business. And whenever I had a future wife, I want to make sure that, you know, she could be a stay-at-home mom and be there to raise our children, and not have the stresses. There's so many stresses in life as it is. Why have the stress of money in your life too?
Right.
Right.
What habits helped make you successful?
I would say consistency. And one of the other ones besides consistency, because it's like going to the gym. You got to show up. You got to show up consistently. You got to eat right consistently. You know, people that diet, they usually, you know, they'll lose weight, but then they put it all back on. Then they'll lose weight and they'll put it all back on like yo-yos. If you don't stay consistent, you're never going to get the results that you truly want to get. And I would say one of the biggest ones is probably PMA, positive mental attitude. You got to be positive. I mean, garbage in, garbage out. You know, if you're constantly watching like CNN, constantly negative news, you're going to have nothing but negativity be attracted to you in your life, because that's what you're listening to.
Yeah.
You know, if you're listening to gangster rap all the time, you're probably going to act like a gangster and sag your pants and mean mug people, because that's what you're listening to. That's what's influencing you. So PMA is important. PMA stands for positive mental attitude. I mean, you got to put positive stuff in your mind. Listen to the audiobooks, get some mentorship, work out. You know, your true wealth is in your health. Be healthy and stay positive. Because if you're positive and you smile a lot and you're uplifting people and you're not that negative person that people don't want to be around, misery loves company, but you're that positive person that lifts people up and encourages them and helps them be positive in life too, you'll attract a lot of positive people and you'll live a way happier life.
What is one thing that you find to be true that most people would disagree with?
Ooh, that's a good one too. That's a controversial one, actually. I don't know if I want to go there.
It's okay.
Up to you.
Well, I would just say, let's talk about health. You know, let's talk about, and this is a very controversial one. Let's talk about shots, right? Facts are facts. I mean, I just think people need to open their eyes. Open their eyes. Do your own research. Don't take what you hear from a doctor as gospel truth. It's interesting. What is the average life expectancy of a doctor in America?
I don't know.
That's a good question.
I have no idea.
I think it's like 52 years old.
For real?
Yeah, look it up. Google it. I mean, it's crazy. It's a young age. If it's not 52, it's right around there. And but they're giving us medical advice. Why would we listen to people that don't live that long? Right? Or they're not in shape, or whatever the case is. They're not healthy. They're coughing. They're smoking cigarettes. They're doing all the things that you're not supposed to be doing. Why would you take advice from somebody like that? I mean, you wouldn't take advice from somebody on marriage counseling if they've been divorced 5 times on how to have a successful marriage, would you? I mean, you're going to listen to somebody who's been successfully married for 40, 50 years. So when it comes to your health or injecting something in your body or taking medical advice or pills, I mean, it blows me away how a lot of medications, you see them on TV, and then a few years later, you see the attorneys on TV suing that corporation for all these side effects that people that have been affected from taking that drug. But just because a doctor says, oh, here, try this out, doesn't mean that it's healthy for you. Just because they say, oh, take this shot, doesn't mean that it's healthy for you. You should look at the documentaries, look at the research, do your own due diligence, open your eyes. Don't take what people tell you as gospel truth, especially when it comes to your health.
This was business related, but no, I like the response.
That was fun.
Do you have a favorite failure? Is there one that set you up for future success?
A favorite failure?
Yeah.
No. They're all painful, man. But I would say my biggest failures is just trusting the wrong people. I mean, there's telltale signs. You know, if people don't have integrity with their word and they're constantly not doing what they say they're going to do, simply like showing up on time or returning a phone call or a text. I mean, just basic things like that. Those are all telltale signs.
Courtesy.
Well, they're telltale signs of people that don't have integrity with their word. So if you're going to choose somebody to go in business with, if you're going to choose somebody to partner with, make sure you're partnering with an integrous person. Like, meet their family, meet their friends. What do they say about them? What is their experience?
If they even have any
them?
friends.
If they have any friends, that's another thing.
Yeah.
But if they're a loner and they don't have any friends, that could be a telltale sign too. So if you're ever going to go into business with somebody, make sure you do your due diligence on who they are. Do a background check. And I'm talking about get personal. Look on their social media. Like, who is it that they surround themselves with? What type of pictures are they posting? Are they always out partying and drinking? I mean, those things are important if you're going to trust somebody in business.
Well, let's touch further on that a little bit. So, you've had a lot of partners in business.
Mm-hmm.
Some of the ones that went bad were like, how did you get into those partnerships? And then what did you learn afterwards that you were like, from now on, I'm going to do this?
Like, what are some of the red flags?
Yeah, that you learned from going through it that, so some of our listeners can have that so that they don't fall into the same traps that, you ended up falling into.
Best advice I can give is if you're not in control, you're out of control. So one of the things I've learned in business is you got to stay in control. Don't just trust people and give your money to people just because you think it's a good idea or they're a great salesperson and creating a big vision of what's possible. That's great, but you work too hard for your money to just hand it over to somebody else. You work too hard for your money just to do exactly what a financial advisor tells you to do. Do your own due diligence, do your own research. That's the best advice I can give anybody. If you're going to go into partnership and business with somebody, don't just hand over your hard-earned money because it's very easy to lose your money. I'd say 9 times out of 10 that I've ever handed somebody money without having some type of security or collateral, I never got paid back and I lost. And you'll probably have the same experience if you do that.
In regards to network marketing, have you ever turned down somebody that was coming in, turned down to work with somebody? And if so, what was the reasoning behind it or how? Yeah.
People that need to be convinced, like they're just too much of a hassle to deal with, or they're too negative in the beginning. I just don't like to surround myself with those type of people. There's not enough hours in the day to deal with negativity. I don't want to deal with the negativity. So yeah, I've turned down a lot of people. If they're just negative and just are being obnoxious or say they're cursing all the time. I mean, they're just not people that I want to be around. So I would just choose to not do business with them for sure.
Because if you get them into the business, that's most likely what the relationship is going to be in the future anyway. It's going to be like pulling teeth every single time.
You can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make them drink. So yeah, I've many times not.
Or you could just find thirsty horses.
Exactly. That's what you want. Don't look to find people that you have to motivate. Look for the motivated.
What was the worst piece of advice that you ever got?
Diversify in the stock market. I lost a lot of money in 2007, 2008 in the stock market.
In the first place? Yeah.
Again, if you're not in control, you're out of control.
That's the generalization. I mean, Warren Buffett, became rich, doing wealthy doing that. But you got to know what you're doing, right?
You got to know you got to have all 5 keys of money mastery working simultaneously. So if you do it, you got to make sure your money's protected. You got to make sure that you can never lose money, right? So you're asking what was the worst advice I got. It was just, invest in the market. Over time, it's going to go up. Look what it did in the past. The past does not equal the future. What happened in the past means nothing. What matters is what's going to happen today moving forward. Yeah. So again, you work way too hard for your money to just entrust it in somebody else's hands. To me, that's just like gambling. I mean, I think you have better odds going to Vegas and putting it on a roulette table than just putting it in the market and letting somebody else control your money.
All right, I got 2 questions left. If you got the chance to start over, what would you do differently?
I would focus even more time on personal growth. If I started over, I would be reading even more books. I would have sought out even more mentors faster rather than just one mentor here, because you can have mentors in every aspect of your life. And it wasn't until later on in life that I learned that. Having mentors in your faith, having mentors in your relationships, having mentors for your family, having mentors for your health, having mentors for your wealth. I mean, just having that mentorship. If I started all over again, I would have just got mentors even faster right away in every aspect of my life that I wanted to improve.
But when you talk about mentors, are you talking about you see somebody who's at the level that you want to be in a certain thing and just kind of ask them for advice? Because when you say mentors, a lot of people think that you got to hire somebody or pay hundreds of thousands of dollars or thousands of dollars, which might be the case in some cases, right? Like if it's a business coach, but like if it's something personal, maybe relationships or, exercise or whatever, would you say it would be better just finding somebody who's at the level that you want to be at in a certain aspect of their life and kind of just poking their brain or kind of just talking to them, or what do you mean?
I would say the majority of mentors I had, 90% of them I never had to pay a dime to because I became friends with. How do you become friends with somebody that could potentially be your mentor? I would take them out to lunch. I would take them out to dinner. I would ask them for their advice and coaching, and I would treat them to their favorite restaurant. And then I would also find out how I can help them. One of my mentors taught me a long time ago, you have to give before you ask and receive. So I was always giving first to mentors, and they ended up liking me, and they would give me more advice, and they would allow me to take them to dinner or lunch more often. And that's how I got my mentors. So yeah, you find somebody that's in a position in life of where you want to be in whatever aspect of life that you're aspiring to have success in, and be friends with them. That's one way. Or you can hire professionals. It's totally
Right.
up to you. I mean, both ways work. I just choose to be friends with the people that I'm going to learn from.
Last one. Why do you do what you do? What gets you through the tough times?
I would say, well, it's two questions. Why do I do what I do? I do what I do because I think time is a gift. I think today is a present. That's what they call it, presence, right? I mean, today's a gift. We could be here today and gone tomorrow, and I've just had too many family members and friends pass on. I mean, even today, my wife's grandfather passed away today. I mean, life is so fragile, and we could be here today and gone tomorrow. So for me, I just want to change the world. I want people to understand that they can live a financially free life, and they can live a healthy life, and they can live long term. But we're not promised tomorrow. So while I am here, I want to change people's lives. While I am here, I want to educate people. I want to teach people things that I wish I was taught when I was 18, 19 years old. I want to teach people things that I wish my parents were taught when they were younger as well. So, I mean, that's what really motivates me. I want to help change the world. I want people to not live in stress and poverty. I want people to live in wealth and abundance, because I believe we live in a wealth and abundant world. You just need the knowledge to learn how to go out there and apply it. What was your last question?
What gets you through the tough times?
I would say faith, definitely faith. Definitely will get me through tough times. Working out definitely gets me through the tough times. I mean, that's like my escape. That's my happy place, going to the gym. It's a stress reliever. When I go to the gym, I listen to music and audiobooks. So I have it shuffle, and it shuffles through my audiobooks and it shuffles through music. So I love music. I love to dance. And going to the gym, that's just the time where I don't answer phone calls. I'm not returning text messages normally. That's just my personal time. So I would say, just going to the gym, listen to audiobooks, listen to music, having faith. I think that's always got me through the tough times.
I've just thought about this while you were talking, while you were saying this, and I don't know if I want to ask the question, but I'm just going to go ahead and do it.
Go for it.
Because I don't understand it. And I've always been curious about it. Like, what is it about faith that people say that it gets them through the tough times? Or like, what is it about it that, that's just makes a huge difference in people's lives? Because I'm not a utterly, religious person. I went to Catholic school from kindergarten to 9th grade. So,
Same here.
Right. I know I was there for a lot of that time, but
Right.
in the last 10, 15 years has just not been a part of my life at all. So I'm always curious and I never feel like asking a question because I don't want to offend somebody.
Oh, it's all good.
So I don't know.
It is one of those sensitive subjects, so I get it.
Yeah.
You're never supposed to talk about faith, religion, or politics, right? So, but I have no problem talking about it. When I say have faith, for me, I mean, I've had some scary moments in my life, like life or death moments. I can describe a few of them to you. I've had a gun pointed to my head before. I've been robbed before. I've actually had a gun pointed to my head multiple times. I grew up in Fresno, California. It's a rough town to grow up in. I've broken both my legs. I mean, I could show you a lot of scars and wounds. I've been thrown through windows. I mean, I've had some crazy times where I should not be living today. One time specifically, I was driving on the highway breaking the speed limit. I was doing about 80 miles per hour, and I was in my friend's Super Beetle Bug. And I had rented a Range Rover, and I let them drive that back to Salt Lake City, Utah, because I felt bad. There was 5 of them, and it was one of me. So I drove their car back, and I was driving and on a 2-lane highway, and king cab Chevy truck got rear-ended and pushed into my lane on a 2-lane highway. He could have probably been doing it. The speed limit was 55, so he could have been doing 55 plus, and we hit head on.
Oh, shit.
And I'm in a Super Beetle Bug. He's in a king cab full-size Chevy truck, right? Who should have won that battle, right? Yeah. Why I say have faith is because the passenger that was in the seat with me was knocked unconscious. I thought he was dead. The car was completely smashed and totaled. I mean, that impact on any kind of vehicle is going to be totaled. Right. And the gentleman in the truck, his arm was stuck outside the window. The car was crushed on him. His arm was broken in multiple places. It took the jaws of life to even pull him out of the vehicle, and he was in really bad shape. And I walked away without a scratch. And I remember just seeing the whiteness, which, was probably the airbags, right? And I remember just jumping out of the vehicle and charging towards that guy because I was angry that I got hit. And I remember seeing into his eyes right before we hit each other and just having my life like flash between my eyes. Like I was like, oh, I'm dead for sure. There's no way I'm going to live through this. And I literally walked away without a scratch. I did. And if you looked at the car, you would have said, how did you even get out of the car? But I got out of the car, and this is a 2-lane highway. I mean, there's cars coming and going.
You're going 85. He's probably going 60.
I was doing about 80, at least head on, which is crazy. And I don't think I should have made it. I mean, I've had a couple instances like that in my life. So that's what I'm talking about, having faith. Like I really felt like I had angels watching over, like I had a guardian angel watching over me. And when I feel like I had a second chance in life, because again, you look at that car, I mean, you even look in the driver's seat, you're like, how did you even walk out of there? How did you not have like cuts and broken bones and limbs? How did you not get knocked out like my buddy that was with me? I mean, he was out cold. Yeah. Even when the ambulance got there, he was still out cold. And I just feel like I had guardian angels watching over me. So for me, I just felt like I had a second chance in life. And I remember at that time in life, I wasn't doing things that I should be doing. And I just felt like it was a wake-up call. Like, you need to get your life straight because it could be taken from you like that. So that's what I'm talking about, having faith. Okay. I believe that we get second chances in life, and I feel like that was one of my second chances in life. And that's not the only time that's happened to me either.
I always feel like asking that question, but it's like you said, it's one of those topics that people don't want to talk about. But it's like one of the things that I'm like most curious about. It's like those things that people don't want to talk about.
Absolutely.
I don't want to talk about politics because I don't really follow politics.
I don't either.
So it's like if we've talked about this on the podcast before. It's like if somebody wants to talk about politics, we'll look dumb because we don't know anything about it.
Right.
But this was awesome, man. Thank you for being so open and being willing to share your experiences.
Absolutely.
And everything with you.
Yeah, man. Where can people find you if they want to, reach out or talk to you?
Facebook. You can go to facebook.com/ I think it's /J Singh, SINGH, or even /John Singh, JOHN, Twitter, Instagram. I'm on all the social media feeds. It's the same on all of them. Last thing I want to say about faith, though, is this: the reason why I think faith is important is because you have to have some set of rules to follow. You have to have some type of guidelines in life to follow, because if you don't have any type of foundation, how are you going to build a house? Right? You can't build the Empire State Building on a 6-inch slab of cement. You got to have some type of beliefs, or it'll fall over. Exactly. Well, it's the same thing in life. I mean, you got to have just some type of principles to follow, right? Some type of structure in your life. I mean, that's why we have laws, right? It's the same thing. Like, don't break these laws, you go to jail. Well, it's the same thing too. There's moral things compass out there. Yeah, you got to have some type of moral compass. There you go. So that's why I think it's important. I'm not a really religious person either. I'm more spiritual. I'm not the type of person that I have to be at church every single day or every single week to learn from another human being. My relationship is, I believe in a higher being. I believe in a higher power, and I believe that they've been there for me many, many times in my life.
Awesome. Thanks, John. Appreciate your time.
Yeah, man. Thanks a lot.
Till next time, guys.
Absolutely.